Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the last Zoom class before Pesach. Monday night, we're going to have a Zoom for Bang with Rabbi Kesselman from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on the same Zoom station. But anyway, tonight we're going to do this unique special year of Erev Pesach that falls on Shabbos, and also to go through the Seder of things, how they need to be done halachically with various different Chabad customs. Okay, because Shabbos is Erev Pesach this year, a lot of things are different, and we're not going to have time to go into the reasons for a lot of things. But the bottom line is we're going to discuss what should be done in a practical way, in a halachic way, and according to the customs. Now, Thursday before Pesach is the fast of the firstborn. We don't do a Shabbos. Shabbos you don't fast. Friday we don't make a fast. So therefore the fast is actually Thursday morning. All the firstborns technically have to fast. The custom is they listen to a siyum, the ending of a tractate of Gemara, which is done in most shuls on Thursday morning. If for whatever reason it is a person is still COVID weary and they're not able to leave where they are, so possibly you can listen to a siyum over the phone, over Zoom, through a microphone. It's not the preferred way of doing it. You really should go listen to the siyum in person. But last year, we know everything was on shutdown, so everybody was able to hear the siyum through a Zoom. And again, if it's need be, you can do it through a Zoom, especially because the fast is pushed up 2 days. So halachically, it's a little bit easier than a regular fast of the firstborn. But if you're listening to Zoom, I would suggest you try to redeem it with tzedakah also by giving a few dollars to tzedakah to redeem the fast. But those people that are firstborns or have children, sons that are firstborns, you have to keep in mind you're not allowed to take a coffee, you're not allowed to drink water, you're not allowed to eat or drink anything until you listen to the siyum, because you really have to fast. And if you have to fast, then you can't break your fast until you listen to the siyum. So just keep that in mind. You can't have coffee, you can't have water, you can't have anything until after the siyum. Thursday night this year, we do Bedikat Chametz. It's really supposed to be Friday night. We can't do it Friday night, so we do it Thursday night. Same thing, you put out the 10 pieces of bread. The same thing like you would every year. We make the bracha, al bir chametz. We search the whole house for chametz. Now, as we learned in previous classes, if somebody wants to do Bedikat Chametz, they don't want to leave everything for Thursday night. They want to do Bedikat Chametz earlier. The house is Pesach already. They want to do Bedikat Chametz. And the truth of the matter is that if you're cooking already in your kitchen a few days before Pesach, then halachically you really need to do Bedikat Chametz in the kitchen, because if you didn't do Bedikat Chametz, that means there's chametz all over the place officially. And therefore, if you're planning to cook on Monday, so Sunday night, without a bracha, you do Bedikat Chametz around the kitchen at least. If somebody wants to do the whole house except one room earlier, they're allowed to lechatchila. They can even do it and do Bedikat Chametz, and then they wouldn't put out 10 pieces of bread. You take the flashlight or the candle, whatever, and you go all over the place. And as long as you leave one room to do a proper Bedikat Chametz Thursday night, because that's when you can only that night you make a bracha. So then the best thing is, if you want to l'chatchila, this is fine to do. You could do Bedikat Chametz in the whole house, in your cars, every place earlier. But as long as you leave one room that you need to do Bedikat Chametz in the night of Bedikat Chametz to be able to make a bracha. After you finish doing Bedikat Chametz, you nullify the chametz. The chametz that you're planning, the 10 pieces of bread, obviously, and the chametz that you're planning to eat Friday, Shabbos, Friday night and Shabbos morning, must be put away in a proper place, that you shouldn't come, God forbid, that it should be eaten all over the house. And again, you would have to do another Bedikat Chametz. So any food that you're planning to eat Friday night and Shabbos morning, which is chametz, it has to be put into a corner, left there, and eaten carefully in a way that you're not going to be getting chametz all over the house. Friday morning, even though it's not really Erev Pesach, nevertheless, it says in halacha, we still try to burn the chametz before midday, which is approximately 1 o'clock. we sell the chametz before midday. Now, in a normal Erev Pesach, the halacha is you're supposed to cut your nails and take a haircut in the morning. In fact, on a regular Erev Pesach, if you didn't take a haircut before midday, then you have to take it only through a guy. But this year, because Friday is not Erev Pesach, so you're allowed to cut your hair, you're allowed to cut your nails the entire day of Friday. Okay? Now, when you burn the chametz Friday morning, you say the yehiratzin, for the burning of the chametz that's in the Sidurim, but you don't nullify the chametz. Normally, when we burn chametz, we nullify the chametz and we say the yehiratzin. This year, you do not nullify the chametz at a Pesach. Friday. Friday, you do not nullify you do it Thursday night of Bedikat Chametz, but Friday, after the burning of the chametz, you do not nullify the chametz because you're still going to be eating it. You nullify the chametz, and these people are going to have to remember because it's a very important nullification of chametz. Shabbos morning, after you finish eating, I'm talking LA times now, which is 10:55 eating, and before 11:58, you have to nullify the chametz, what you would normally do on Erev Pesach when you burn the chametz. So we don't nullify the chametz when we burn it. We nullify the chametz Shabbos late morning before 11:58. Again, that's LA time. Everybody has different times. The rest of Friday, again, you're allowed to eat chametz, but again, you have to be careful where you're eating it. You don't want to bring chametz all over the house. Your whole house is Pesach already. So you can eat it outside. You can eat it somewhere else. That's what you have to do. Friday night, Shabbos. So now the question is, you need to have a Shabbos meal with a matzah. Our custom is not to eat it. Halachically, you're not allowed to eat matzah at a Pesach, meaning Shabbos morning, it's halachically forbidden to eat matzah. Our custom is not to eat matzah from the time of Purim on. That's Pesach dika matzah. Chametz dika matzah you're allowed to eat until the time you can eat chametz. So the dinner is like this. What do you do Friday night? Okay, there's a lot of possibilities. I'm going to say the most practical way of doing it. And that is the whole meal is Pesach. Your house is Pesach, the meal is Pesach, the food is Pesach, the plate, everything is Pesach. You have, let's say, if you have two adults, okay, you have two challahs. Each one should be 2 ounces. Because you have to have a Shabbos gift. Not 1 kazayis, 2 kazayis, which is 2 ounces. To be able to make the bracha on the Tilas Yadayim a whole year, you need to eat 2 ounces of bread. You keep it separate in a plastic bag. Okay? It's covered when you make Kiddush, but it's off from the table. You make Kiddush and you pay some thicker cup, you pay some thicker wine, and then you go wash for Hametzi. You take the 2 challahs, you need Lachem Mishnah, you take 2 challahs, and you eat it at the side of the room away from the table, and you put it into a napkin or a tissue. You eat it over the napkin or the tissue, and you make sure you finish the whole challah, okay? Or if there's a few crumbs, you flush them down the toilet that we'll soon discuss. You finish the challah. You don't get a big challah that you're not going to finish because then halachically you have problems what to do with it. You finish the challah. You take the tissue that has the crumbs that you ate from, or the napkin that you have crumbs on. You bring it to the bathroom, to the toilet. You flush the crumbs down the toilet and make sure there's no crumbs left on the tissue. The tissue you can just throw into the toilet. But if it's a napkin, then you make sure there's no crumbs left on the napkin and you throw the napkin in the garbage. Okay? So every person, every adult really would need a challah, 2 ounces, to be able to eat up before the meal. Then you rinse your mouth Okay, in the bathroom, rinse your mouth in cold water. Make sure there's no chametz residue on your garments and whatever it is. You clean yourself up, and then you go back to the table and eat your Pesach meal. Some people would take egg mat. By the way, another advisable thing is if you have fresh pita, pita is also, even though it's sliced to cut in the middle, but it's halachically, it's a whole thing. Pita crumbles less than challah does. So some people might want to use pita bread because it's good for hametzi, and then you eat it again, you eat it over a napkin, and you brush the crumbs down the toilet. Another thing you could do, and it's not the best thing, I'm saying it's not the best thing to do. Many opinions say you shouldn't do it, but according to the Alter Rebbe, you probably could do it. And that is to make hametzi with Pesach egg matzah. Egg matzah is matzah that's kosher to Pesach, but it's not made with flour and water, it's made with juice. Now, Ashkenazim, unless if they're sick, do not eat egg matzah on Pesach. According to the Alter Rebbe, you stop eating egg matzah when you stop eating chametz. Some people hold you can eat egg matzah a whole lot of Pesach. The Alter Rebbe holds that the minig is that when you stop eating chametz, you stop eating egg matzah. The advantage of egg matzah is it's not really chametz stick. So if you have little kids, you might want to give them Pesach egg matzah instead, because even if they do crumble it around the house, it's not really chametz. But if you have, again, with kids, you have to be very, very careful. The adult would be better to use small chalas. This is for Friday night and Shabbos morning, the same thing. You make kiddush, everything Pesach, you go up to the sides, eat the challah in the same room. Because if you're going to eat it in a different room from where you made kiddush, you have another problem. Kiddush has to be in the place where you made the meal. If it's the meal, you're going to be eating the challah outside, and from the room you're making kiddush, you can't see that area where you're eating challah, it's not a good kiddush. So the best thing, halachically, again, I'm saying that the best thing, practically speaking, is to eat it off in the corner of the same room, finish eating, flush the crumbs down the toilet, and then throw the napkin out or flush it, whatever, and then you go back to your Pesach meal. That's as far as the meal of Erev Pesach goes. Now, our custom is that starting Erev Pesach, Chabad custom is, we don't eat any of the ingredients of the Maror or the Charoset. Not what people think, anything from the Seder Plate. That's not true. The only custom that we Chabad has is, and most people have, or don't even have that custom, we don't eat the ingredients of Maror and Charoset from Erev Pesach until after the sandwich Kerach of the second Seder. Okay? Which means, just for those that want to keep this custom, at Shabbos afternoon, you cannot eat applesauce. You cannot eat an apple. You cannot eat pears. You cannot eat lettuce. You cannot eat horseradish. And you can't eat nuts that you're going to be putting into the Charoset. Okay, those things we don't eat. So this Shabbos, that Shabbos Erev Pesach, we wouldn't eat those things. You finish your meal, you bench, you make sure you finish eating the challah before 10:55. The meal could continue later, as long as you're not eating chametz anymore. And you have to nullify the chametz again before 11:58 LA time. Now, it's a very convenient thing in the respect that basically Shabbos afternoon, you can have a long rest. Erev Pesach, everybody's busy cooking, this, cleaning, finishing, getting everything ready. Bottom line is that that Shabbos, you really can't do anything. You're not allowed to prepare anything for the Seder. No preparations whatsoever for the Seder. With the guy, you're allowed to set the tables, but you cannot do any food preparation. You cannot, do anything like that. But there is an interesting halacha that applies in Hilchos Shabbos, and that is that you're not allowed to say on Shabbos, I'm going to rest that I can be up for the Seder. Because then you're preparing from Shabbos for after Shabbos, which you're not allowed to do. So you're allowed to go to sleep because sleep is enjoyment. So you're allowed to enjoy yourself on Shabbos. But you're not allowed to say, I'm going to sleep because I want to stay up later for the Pesach Seder. In fact, you have to be careful. You shouldn't tell that to your kids either. Go to sleep. You have to tell the kids they have to go to sleep. You can't say in order to be up for the Seder. You can say go to sleep. You can say go to sleep, and that's it. Okay, that's as far as basically. Another very important thing that needs to be kept in mind. All the things that you need for the Seder should really be made before Shabbos begins. Okay, that means the salt water, the Charoset, checking the lettuce, everything should be made, because if you're not going to do it, you can't do it on Shabbos. Matzah Shabbos, there's a limitation, even though it's Yom Tov, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. So the best thing is cooking the eggs, the roasting of the shengba, of the zeraya, which we use. We'll soon discuss what we use. And the Maror, the Charoset, everything should be prepared, what you need for the Seder before Shabbos begins. Okay, that's as far as the dinam basically of Erev Pesach that falls on Shabbos. The question is, can you use different nuts that you're not be using in the walnut? Seemingly you could. I don't know. It says that you don't eat the ingredients of the Maror and the Charoset. So if you're using you're not using those nuts for the Charoset, then you could eat them if you want. Okay, let's go in to the Seder itself, because there's a lot of details in the Seder. Okay, and let me just go through a little bit the Seder Plate, what Chabad custom is. There's a lot of different customs, millions of customs. We're going to discuss what the Chabad custom is for the Seder Plate and Chabad customs for the Seder. How do we drink from the kosher Pesach Kiddush cup after eating challah? You mentioned you rinse your mouth, you make sure there's no chametz in your mouth, and that's it. Then you're not, you don't have to drink from the Kiddush cup. You drink from the Kiddush before. If you want to get from later, you have to make sure there's no chametz in your mouth. Okay, Chabad custom.
But when do we bench, Rabbi?
You bench after you finish eating the whole meal.
The whole meal, okay.
Okay, next. The Seder Plate in Chabad is very interesting. People should know the Seder Plate that everybody has today is really the Arizal Seder Plate. The halacha in Shulchan Aruch has a different order. The Ramah had a different order of Seder Plate. People have different orders for the Seder Plate. The universal Seder Plate that everybody uses, Zreya, Beitza, Maror, Charoset, Karpas, the Chazeres, that's the Arizal. And I'll explain to you why in a minute we do it that way. Chabad custom is as follows. You have a tray at the bottom of the matzah. Okay? Yes, Shabbos morning we do need to daven early. Just somebody's been mentioning this. You need to daven early. It says in Halachah you daven early. You should do a quicker davening, not rushed, but a quicker davening than always, because you need to be home in order enough time to eat the matzah. Eat the chametz before this month. So just the practical thing, if you start davening 7:30, you're done by 9:30, and then you have almost an hour and a half to be able to still eat chametz. Okay, the Seder Plate, you have the kite at the bottom, a plate. Okay, and the Chabad custom is on this plate we put 3 matzahs, but we have a cloth or a napkin separating between matzah and matzah. Okay, you have the bottom matzah on the plate. You can put a napkin under it if you want. Then you put a napkin. You put one matzah, another matzah, another napkin, the top matzah. So you have 3 matzahs. On top of the matzah, just practically you put something that's waterproof, like a piece of aluminum foil or something. And Chabad custom is to put the Seder plate directly on the matzahs, being careful that you don't crack the matzahs when you put the things of the Seder plate on. So for the Zoraya, what people translate as the shank bone, Chabad doesn't use the shank bone. The Rebbe writes, our custom is to use the neck of a chicken, a little neck of a chicken. You don't need the whole neck, you have a little piece of it. That's roasted over an open fire. The previous Rebbe, and the Rebbe brings this down, used to take off most of the meat of the neck, leaving a little bit on, because then it's not good. You leave a little bit of meat on the neck, and that's what we use for the zeraya. For the for the beitzah, for the next thing we use a hard-boiled egg. The reason for the zeraya is corresponding with the Paschal lamb. The reason why we have the egg corresponding with the peace offering that people are obligated to bring every Yom Tov, the carbon shlamim. Why do we use an egg? Because an egg is a sign of mourning. Like a mourning, comes back from the funeral to eat eggs. The egg is round, it has no mouth. So in remembrance of the carbon shlamim, the peace offering that was brought every Yom Tov, besides the carbon Pesach and Pesach, so we have the beitzah. So today is the carbon Pesach. The beitzah is correspond with the carbon shlamim. The middle we put maror. Now, what do we use for maror? The Rebbe writes we use romaine lettuce basically and horseradish. We use both together. That is the maror. On the right, under the zeraya, we have what's called Charoset. Different reasons in the Gemara for the Charoset to remind us of the mortar that they had in the bricks that they built. What do we do for Charoset? The Chabad custom, the Rebbe writes, is apples, pears, and nuts. That's it. The Rebbe writes we don't use cinnamon and ginger because it was a problem with chametz in the olden times. But the Rebbe writes this is what we use: apples, pears, and nuts ground together, and later on we add wine. On the other side is the karpas. Now, karpas halachically could be anything that's very pure adama. The Rebbe writes, our custom is to use potato or onion. The Rebbe himself, as we know, used onion for the karpas. And then again, the maror underneath the top maror is, again, the same romaine lettuce with horseradish. So basically what you have is like this: right, left, center, and the three matzahs and a plate. So the reason why the Arizal set it up like that and why it's our custom to do that is because these are all the 10 attributes of Hashem, the 10 spheres. The three matzahs at the bottom is Chochmah, Bina, and Das, Chabad. The plate underneath the matzah is the attribute of Malchus, which is a plate. And then the 6 things on the Seder plate, right, left, center, is again the 6 spheres of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, and Yesod. The plate at the bottom of the matzahs is Malchus, and the 3 matzahs is Chochmah, Bina, and Das. So that's why Chabad custom is to do it not separately the matzahs and separately the kaira. We put the Seder plate actually directly on top of the matzah. And obviously you make sure that there is no wetness going through because we don't want to make a matzah wet. Okay, so now the kaida has to be set up. One more, let me go back 1 second. Because you're going from Shabbos to Yom Tov, so there's certain things you're allowed to do on Yom Tov that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Therefore, when Shabbos is over, which is nightfall, half an hour after sundown, you can figure in these days, then men and women, especially if you're not davening Ma'ariv, have to say, Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh LaKodesh, and then you can do things you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. But until you say that, it's still Shabbos. So you can't do any preparation, you can't do any cooking, you can't do anything. So as soon as you're allowed to, when Shabbos is over, meaning a half an hour after nightfall, the house should say, Baruch HaMavdul Ben Kodesh LeKodesh, and then you go and set up the Seder plate and put things that you need into the oven, whatever, getting ready for the Seder. As it is, it's late enough. Halachically, the Seder should begin as soon as possible. So now let's go through the Seder the way it needs to be done to make it halachically correct. So number one, all the mitzvahs of the night of Pesach are equal for men and women. Men and women are equally obligated in all aspects of the Seder. That means they have a biblical obligation to eat matzah. They have a rabbinic obligation to drink wine, rabbinic obligation to eat the Maror, biblical obligation to say the Haggadah. These are all obligations that men and women are equally obligated in the night of the Seder. Okay, so let's go through Kiddush. Kiddush this year is a little bit different because we're going to Matzah Shabbos. We're going to Matzah Shabbos, and therefore the Kiddush is not only Kiddush, it's Havdalah also. So therefore, what's called in Halacha Yak Nahaz, Yayin, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, Zman. Okay? But before we go to Kiddush, let me explain what we're doing in the Kiddush. Normally on a Friday night or Shabbos, whenever it is, the head of the household makes Kiddush. The women, let's say, and the kids, whatever, listen to the Kiddush, they answer Amen, and then they're given a little bit of wine to drink. You can't do that the night of the Seder because everybody has to drink 4 cups of wine. So therefore, what normally is done is as follows. Before Kiddush starts, everybody's cup is filled. Everybody by the table, the Kiddush cup is filled. The head of the household makes Kiddush and the Havdalah Yak Nahaz. Everybody, the women, especially if they're not making their own Kiddush, listen to the husband's Kiddush. They listen to the husband's Kiddush. They answer Amen when he finishes the bracha, not Baruch Hu Baruch Shmei, just Amen when he finishes the brachas, each one of the brachas. And then when the husband finishes Kiddush, the head of the household finishes Kiddush, everybody sits down and drinks their cup of wine. Okay? That's the way it's done. But you can't just give, everybody has their own cup when Kiddush begins, full cup to the top. The minimal size of a Kiddush cup is 3 ounces. Better a little bit more, but a 3-ounce cup is kosher for Kiddush. Preferable is when you make Kiddush in each one of the 4 cups to drink the entire cup. So halachically, it's better to have a smaller cup that you drink completely rather than a bigger cup that you can only drink half of. It's better to drink the whole cup. So it's better to have, let's say, a 3.5-ounce cup and drink the whole thing rather than a 5-ounce cup and just, drink a little bit more than half. Now, preferably, wine should be used for Kiddush and for the 4 cups of wine. People that have a problem with wine are allowed to use grape juice, not from concentrate. If the grape juice says from concentrate, you cannot use it for Kiddush or 4 cups of wine. That's a whole year, by the way. But if you have regular grape juice, it's preferred, if possible, to at least add a little bit of wine to it. The best type of wine, halachically, preferably, is red wine. Number one, halachically, red wine is better. Secondly, especially Pesach, it reminds us of the Jewish blood that parish, shechted the kids and put them in blood, whatever. So halachically, it's preferred to have red wine. If you want to use white wine, you're allowed to mix a little bit of red wine into it to make it red. But preferable is wine. If not, you can use grape juice. If people cannot use none of the above, ask it of a Shiloh what they should be using for the 4 cups. So that's Kaddish. Everybody, now, the men need to recline when they on the left side. Women don't recline. Men recline on the left side. Okay? If you recline on the left side, you drink the whole cup. That's Kaddish. After Kaddish comes Urchatz. Now, what's Urchatz? You wash your hands without a bracha. You don't make a bracha for this Urchatz. If you do, there's a whole sicha from the Rebbe what to do, and it's a whole mishmash what you got to do. And Halachos, the Rebbe has different opinion than a lot of other people. Your best bet is when you wash Urchatz, just remember that you're not making a bracha. According to my not so humble opinion, because I see a lot of people dafka talk after they wash to show that it's not the regular washing and they're not making a bracha, and it's that's incorrect. According to Allah, you're not allowed to talk. The only reason we don't make a bracha is because there's an argument if you make a bracha when you eat vegetables dipped in liquid or anything dipped in liquid, what's called the davar shetibuli b'mashke. So there's a machlekes in Allah if you make a bracha or not. So we hold you wash, especially the night of the Seder, but you don't make a bracha. But you shouldn't be talking from Urchatz until you make the bracha on the karpas. Okay? So you make Kiddush. After Kiddush, you go to Urchatz. You wash your hands like for bread without a bracha. Okay? You go to the table. You take the karpas. Okay? You take the karpas. You dip the karpas into salt water. Our minhag is to do it 3 times into the salt water. You make a bracha barei pri adama on the karpas, and you have in mind when you're making the bracha that this is also going for the maror that you're going to be eating. Because really, the maror you would have to make your own barei pri adama, according to many opinions. So when you make adama on the karpas, you have in mind it's also going on the maror and on the maror of the kairach, of the sandwich. Chabad custom is not to recline when we eat the karpas. There's a lot of different customs. Our custom is we do not recline when we eat the karpas. People are hungry, I know, but you should eat a minimal amount of karpas. You should eat a minimal amount of karpas. Why? Because if you eat a lot of karpas, an ounce worth of karpas, you're going to have to make an after bracha after the karpas. Because hametzi, you're doing it before hametzi. Then the problem is, if you make an after bracha on the karpas, then the barei pri adama can't go for the maror. So you have a dilemma. So therefore, the halach, the minhag is, you eat a small piece. You eat karpas in order for the kids to ask manishtana. Okay? Every kids ask manishtana. So a small amount is enough. So you don't eat enough to be able to make an after bracha. Okay? So you have to eat karpas. You make a barei pri adama. You dip it 3 times into the water. Then you make the bracha barei pri adama, and you eat the karpas not reclining. So now you're left, by the way, with -1 thing on the Seder plate. Okay, because there's no karpas left. After karpas comes yachatz. Okay, yachatz is you break the middle matzah. You break the middle matzah. They always say in the yeshiva, they would say you take the larger half and put it away for Afikomen, which is incorrect English because if it's a half, it's not larger. So you take the middle matzah, you break it a little bit, not 3/4 and 1/4 because you need a kazayis left over for the middle matzah. You take it, break it approximately in half. The bigger piece, Chabad custom is we break into 5 pieces and we put it away in a bag to eat later for the Afikomen. Okay? There is a minhag. Many people have a minhag that the kids steal the Afikomen, and then when it comes time to eat Afikomen, you have to promise them a reward to get it back. Chabad custom is, why do you do that, by the way? What's the source of the custom? The kids should stay up. When they're excited, they're going to find their lunch. They steal it, and you're going to have to find it. And if not, you're going to have to promise them a gift. It keeps the kids up. In Chabad, the custom is we don't steal. You don't want to educate the child in chinuch to steal. So therefore, what many people in Chabad do is not the kids steal the Afikomen. The parents hide the Afikomen. And the kids find the Afikomen. It's just semantics, basically. But the kids are not taught to steal. You don't teach kids to steal. You teach kids to find. So let them find Afikomen, and then, they'll give it back to you when you promise them a gift. By the way, just in passing, what happens if the kids fall asleep and you don't know where the Afikomen is? The kids hit it, they fall asleep, and then you can't find the Afikomen. So Halachas says, don't get nervous. You take matzah from the box and you put it and you eat for the Afikomen. Okay, that's yachatz. So why do we break it into 5 pieces? Because there's 5 levels of gvura. We break it. There's a story with Rebbe Rashab. By mistake, it broke into 6. When he was breaking it into 5, it broke into 6. He put away the 6th piece. He didn't use it, and he only put away 5 pieces for the Afikomen. So that's Kadesh, Orchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Now we come to the mitzvah of Magid. Magid is the mitzvah of saying the Haggadah. It's a biblical mitzvah to say the Haggadah. And there's certain parts of the Haggadah, like we said before, men and women are both equally obligated. They're both equally obligated to say the Haggadah. That means, women are busy in the kitchen, but still they have an obligation to say the major parts of the Haggadah. I'm going to tell you what they are, and it's a little bit contrary to public opinion of what's important in the Seder. Okay, you don't have a Haggadah in front of you, but you have to start Manishtana. They have to say Avodah Mayinu until Harei Zeh Meshubach, which is the first Avodah Mayinu until the end of that paragraph. Then you can skip to Mitchila Evdei Avodah Zarah until through Arami Eved Avi, which is the paragraph after Tzei Ulamad. And then you have to go to Pesach, Matzah, Maror until the end of until you make the bracha on the second cup, which means like this: the plagues are not halachically primary Haggadah. The Dayenu is not primary halachic Haggadah, but primary halachic Haggadah. We said Avodah Mayinu, Metchila Evdei Avodah Zarah, Pesach Shoyu Eichlin, the Pesach Matzah and Maror with the bracha and half hollow. That is mandatory for men and women to say. They could say it in English. They could say it in any language they want. But that is mandatory, minimal. Ideally, you have to say the whole Haggadah. But minimal, that is it's a biblical obligation, reciting the Haggadah the night of Pesach. Okay, so that's Magid, reciting the Haggadah. Now, when you come to the plagues, many people take with their fingers, dam, tzvardeya, kinim. The reason why they do that is because Paris, Chachamim, the magicians, said Etzba Elokimhi, that the plagues are the finger of God. So that's why they take the finger to do dam, tzvardeya, kinim. Chabad custom is not to do that. We actually pour from the cup. Dam, tzvardeya, 10 times, and then we do another 3 by the tzachadash bachav. Okay? And then we finish. I just want to run through the Seder. We'll take questions at the end as long as you want. Okay, then you drink the second cup. So again, you make a very piagafen. Why do you make a? By the way, you look in the Haggadah. In the last bracha, you have to change it from Zvachim to Psachim in Azvachim because it's Saturday night. But that you'll read in the Haggadah. You'll see it in your Haggadah. Again, you make a Brei Piagafen. Each cup demands their own Brei Piagafen because each cup is a separate mitzvah, so to speak. And then you recline. Okay? That's the second cup. After you finish the second cup, now you're washing for Hametzi. Okay? Then you wash for Hametzi. Now you wash with the bracha like you would. Okay, now you're left on the Seder plate with 2.5 matzahs. Okay? I'm explaining this that people should understand the reason why we do things. You're left with 2.5 matzahs. Now, Yom Tif, you need 2 matzahs, 2 challahs. Shabbos, you need lechem mishnah. So you have the top matzah is complete. By the way, if it's not whole, you have to change it. If it broke, the bottom matzah is whole. The middle matzah is broken. So you have 2.5 matzahs. So the din is like this. You pick up the 2.5 matzahs and you say the bracha, meitzi lachem min haaretz. Then you drop the bottom matzah and you say the bracha sheketshanu b'mitzvayse v'tzivanu al achilas matzah. Now, you have a biblical mitzvah to eat 1 ounce, a kazayis of matzah. You have a biblical mitzvah to eat 1 ounce of matzah. So therefore, but the problem is there's an argument in halacha, do you eat the kazayis in the top matzah or from what's left in the middle matzah? 2 opinions in halacha. Do you eat the kazayis in the top matzah or should you eat the kazayis in the bottom matzah? So therefore, what does halacha say you should do? Preferably, you take a kazayis of the top matzah and a kazayis of the middle matzah and you eat them together. But that only applies to people that have a Seder plate. Everybody else, that means the women or any men, depending on your custom, that don't have a Seder plate, do not need to eat 2 ounces of matzah. They need to eat 1 ounce of matzah from the box because there's not enough anywhere on the Seder plate. You take a kazayis of matzah from the box. Now, by wine, when you have to drink the wine, you can't sip wine. You have to drink it, preferably in 1 gulp. If you sip it for a few minutes, it's not called drinking the wine. You have to drink at minimum more than half, preferably the whole cup. The same thing by matzah. In order to fulfill the mitzvah of matzah, you need to eat matzah, not nibble on matzah. A kazayis of matzah for the biblical mitzvah of matzah is 1 ounce of weight. That means it weighs 1 ounce. That's how much biblical matzah you have to eat. It's a biblical mitzvah. How much is that with the hand shmura matzah? So the answer is very simple. Sometimes you'll have a pound with 8 matzahs. Then, a half a matzah is 1 ounce. There's 16 ounces in a pound. If you have 8 matzahs in your pound, so then you have a half a matzah. If you have 6 matzahs in your pound, because they're thicker, then you need to eat, let's say, 1/3 of a matzah. If your matzahs are very thin, that you have 10 matzahs in a pound, then you need to eat more than half a matzah. So it really depends what type of matzah you're eating. If you're eating thinner matzah, you need to eat more. If you're eating thicker matzah, you can eat less. You can eat less because it's thicker. You need to weigh 1 ounce. So now you take the matzah, okay? The women make their own brachas. By Kiddush, they don't have to make their own Brei Piagafen. They can listen to the husband's Brei Piagafen. By the other cups of wine, the custom is everybody makes their own Brei Piagafen. That's the custom. You can make your own Brei Piagafen. By the matzah, everybody makes the brachas. Hametzi lachem min haaretz and Hasheket Shem mitzvahs v'nal achilas matzah. The men recline. Okay, the men recline, and they, on the left side, they eat the matzah. How long do you have to eat the kazayis of matzah? So it's called Kedei Achilas Pras. That ranges anywhere between 4 minutes to 9 minutes, which is, by the way, not a lot of time. Now, when you eat the matzah, another halachic thing that people should be aware of. When does the clock start ticking? Not when you put the matzah in your mouth. When you swallow your first swallow, that's when the clock starts running the 4 minutes. So what people do, it's not necessarily very etiquette looking, but they will try to chew as much matzah as they can in the mouth before swallowing it. Then they'll swallow it, so they gained maybe a minute or two, perhaps, that they gained in the time to eat the 1 ounce of matzah. Okay? So that is, but women and men, you have to eat the matzah quickly. You're not allowed to talk during eating of the matzah. You're in the middle of a mitzvah. You're not allowed to talk. You need to eat the matzah as quickly as possible. After meitzi matzah, then you have maror. So you eat a kazayas of maror. Now, I mentioned before, our custom is to use horseradish and romaine lettuce. How much do you need for maror? Because it's rabbinic, 3/4 of an ounce is enough. You don't need an ounce like by matzah, 3/4 of an ounce is enough. Which is, if romaine lettuce, it's a leaf 8 by 10. 8 by 10 is good enough. Now, if you have horseradish, then that also counts in the 1 ounce and 3/4 of an ounce. You make the bracha, you hold the maror in your right hand. First, you put a little bit of wine into the Charoset. Okay, what the Rebbe used to do, the Rebbe had, wine. When you make Kiddush, there's wine at the bottom of the plate. The Rebbe would take a little Charoset, put it into his Kiddush cup. Not the Kiddush cup, the plate at the bottom of the cup. Get the maror a little bit, the Charoset a little bit wettish. And then you dip it 3 times into the Charoset. And then you make a bracha shekechanu b'mitzvahs v'tzvanu al achilas maror, and you don't recline. You eat the maror quickly. It's much easier to eat the maror than it is the matzah. But you also have to eat it within 4 minutes, or at least not more than 9 minutes. Same thing with the matzah. And then you fulfill that mitzvah. Then you go, the question is soft matzah acceptable? It's a whole question in halacha. For Ashkenazic Jews, it's not acceptable. Some Sephardic Jews had a custom. Ashkenazic Jews are not supposed to eat soft matzah. It has to be hard. But that's not for now. Now, after maror, you have the sandwich. Why do we have a sandwich? What's the sandwich? We take a kazayas of matzah from the bottom matzah. And over here, by the way, if you want, you can take 3/4 of an ounce instead of an ounce, because not the biblical mitzvah. So people that have a hard time eating matzah can take 3/4 of an ounce of matzah. Together with the kazayas of maror, Chabad custom is we put a little bit of not wet charesis, dry charesis, a little bit on the maror, and then we take it off basically. We put the maror in the middle of the matzah, and we say Kain Hasei Hillel, like it says in the Haggadah, and then we eat that reclining. Why do we eat it? Why do we do that? So the Gemara says that the Chachamim held that you eat the matzah separately and the maror separately. So that's what we do, matzah and the maror. Hillel said no. And the Torah says on matzah samreim yachlu, it means you have to eat the maror together with the matzah. So Hillel said you have to eat the maror with the matzah. And because the Gemara says nobody decided what the halacha is, we do both. So we eat the matzah and the maror separately, and then we eat the matzah and the maror together. And again, I want to emphasize people that have issues with eating a lot of matzah, or for health reasons, they have to contact the HaRav to find out what they should do. It's not for a public forum. There's guidelines what people that are not allowed to eat matzah, allergic to, or whatever it is, health reasons that what they have to do. They have to contact the HaRav and ask him what they should be doing. After Kodesh, we have Shulchan Aruch. That's the meal. Chabad custom is to begin the meal with a hard-boiled egg, the hard-boiled egg from the Seder Plate. You obviously peel it, and we're careful not to peel it on the table. We peel it on a napkin that we can throw right into the garbage. And then you dip the egg into salt water, and you eat it. You don't want to eat the whole egg, eat part of the egg. It doesn't matter. So that's the way the minig is to begin the meal. The meal, again, whatever you make for Pesach. Again, our custom is not to eat lettuce during that meal, not to eat applesauce, not to eat, not to eat the pears, apples, and like we said before, no lettuce, no horseradish. It's a custom. It's not halacha. Shulchan Aruch, our custom is not to, there are opinions in halacha that say you have to recline when you eat the meal. Our custom is we don't recline. At the end of the meal, at the end of Shulchan Aruch, we do what's called Safun. Safun is the Afikomen. So you have the Afikomen from hopefully what you found, from what you took from the middle matzah. Our custom is, if possible, not only to eat that kazayas of matzah, but to eat another kazayas of matzah. Because Afikomen is for the carbon Pesach. But they ate matzah together with the carbon Pesach. So l'chatchila, if you're able to, you should eat 2 kazasim for the Afikomen, meaning the kazayas that you had, plus another kazayas that you take from the box, so from whatever, to make it 2 kazasim. Women or people that have a hard time doing that, 1 ounce is enough. Now, after you finish Afikomen, which is eaten reclining, by the way, the first night we try to eat it before halachic midnight, which in LA, halachic midnight is 12:58. To eat it the first night, if possible, to eat it before 12:58. Second night, we're not careful, you can eat it much later. Okay, so after Afikomen, you bench, you have a mezumen. Hopefully, if not, you bench yourself with Yala V'Yaveh. And after 3rd cup of wine, so after benching, you make a very piagafen, you drink the 3rd cup of wine reclining. Now, you're already at Halal Nirtza. So right before Halal Nirtza, we take a candle, go to the door. Usually the women are the ones that do it. If a man lives alone, the man takes the candle to the door. After the Rebbe Chaim passed away, and the Rebbe was eating the Seder by himself, he didn't want anybody there. The Rebbe, people would see the way the Rebbe went with the candle. By Shrei Chamaska, went to the door, opened up the door with the candle, and he said Shrei Chamaska, and then he went back. So usually the custom is the women do it, but it doesn't have to be that way. The men can open the door. And you say Shrei Chamaska, but before that, you pour the 4th cup of wine. You pour the 4th cup of wine, and then you say Shrei Chamaska with the candle. If you don't have a candle, you don't have a candle. You can't light the match on Yom Tov. But if you have a pre-existing flame, you can light a candle and then do it. And then we finish the rest of Hallel, okay? The rest of Hallel, and at the end of Hallel, after Yishtabach, Nishmas, Yishtabach, we drink the 4th cup of wine, make a very piagafen again, we drink the 4th cup of wine, we make an after bracha, and then we say Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim, and then, I'm sorry, I missed something very important. The pouring of the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay? It was very interesting. In Lubavitch, sometimes they did like this, before benching. Sometimes officially it says after benching. If you look in the Haggadah, the Alter Rebbe writes, you pour the 4th cup after benching, and then you do Shrei Chamaska. But the Rebbe in the recent years, and that became officially the Chabad Minig, and that is brought down as officially Chabad Minig, we pour Kais Shel Eliyahu before benching. That means after the Afikomen, before you pour your cup for Eliyahu Hanavi, you pour a cup for Eliyahu Hanavi, and then you bench over your cup, but Kais Shel Eliyahu is there by benching, and then after benching, you drink the 4th cup, and then you have the Kais Shel Eliyahu. When you finish the whole Seder, Chabad custom is we don't say Yachmi Yadeh, Haggadah, we don't, the Alter Rebbe didn't put it into the Haggadah, we don't say it. After you finished, you still have Keshel Elio on the table. So then the custom is what the Rabbeim used to do. They used to pour it back into the bottle, pour a little bit of wine first into Keshel Elio, then pour the wine back into the bottle while everybody is singing Keliata. By the Rebbe, it was a whole procedure. And nobody was able to figure out exactly, because every time was different. The Rebbe poured from the bottle to cup to his cup to the Leon of the cup. It went back and forth. There were spiritual things. Everybody saw. I was never there, but there were spiritual things going on. That at the end of the Haggadah, after benching, the Rebbe's expression changed. The Rebbe, they say you couldn't compare the Rebbe before benching in the first part of the Haggadah to the Rebbe in the second part of the Haggadah. The Rebbe became very serious, and you saw the Rebbe was more intent, because after benching, before benching, deals with Yetzias Mitzrayim. After benching, deals with Mashiach. And it was, they say, if you saw like the Rebbe, we didn't see the Rebbe too much, what's called dveikus, very serious and like in a different place. But everybody that was by the Seder said every year by the Rebbe after benching was a whole different, so to speak, behavior, that the Rebbe behaved in a much different way. Okay. I just want to remind everybody that you can't prepare anything from the first day Yom Tov to the second day. The first day Pesach, we bench Tal at Musaf. So basically, from Musaf on the first day of Pesach, we start saying Mered Atol. I'm going to go through the questions that were asked, okay? And if I didn't answer them, and we'll try to make it fast. A woman has knows who wants the phone number to call to listen. I can't answer that. She has to find out where her shul is. We different nuts. We answered that you could, I guess. How do we drink from kosher Pesach Kiddush cup? I said you rinse your mouth. So Shabbos morning, do we need to daven early? Yes, we daven early. Can we still make Kiddush and Shabbos lunch with grape juice or wine if we use wine to make Charoset? Yes, because you have a mitzvah to use wine. So even though wine is one of the ingredients of the Charoset, you still need to make Kiddush over wine. That's the exception of it. When we do unofficial search of Chametz before Thursday night, do we also need to use candlelight and 10 pieces of bread in foil wraps? Sorry, you missed that part. First of all, never put the 10 pieces of bread in aluminum foil. It doesn't burn. You put it either into paper. Best thing is paper, because when you burn it, it burns. If you're doing Bedikat Chametz anyway Thursday night, no, you don't put out 10 pieces of bread. You put out 10 pieces of bread Thursday night when you're doing Bedikat Chametz. If somebody is leaving town and they have to do Bedikat Chametz the night before they leave, officially they're supposed to put out 10 pieces of bread. But I tell people you have to be very careful, because many times, more than once, much more than once, I got calls from people in middle of Pesach that they took the 10 pieces of bread with them where they were going to a different city, to burn out of Pesach, and everything became a tumult, and then they forgot to burn the 10 pieces of bread, and they opened up the suitcase in the middle of Chol Hamoed to get some clothes, and they saw the 10 pieces of bread there. It's not a very good thing to do. Okay, can we still make it? Okay, yes, that was answered. Why do we eat egg Friday night if there's no Haggadah this year? We don't eat the egg Friday night. We eat the egg the night of the Seder, Saturday night. And Saturday night, they did have a Korban Haggadah. What about pink wine? Pink wine officially is red. If you want to mix a little bit of more red just to make it. Should the women say their own bracha by Kiddush? If they want to, they could. Usually the women don't make their own Kiddush. Can everyone please put yourself on? Okay. Can we get that sent to us? The women have to do the 10 plagues with the wine. The custom is they do it. When we do an artificial search of chametz before, okay, that was asked. Why is bread 2 ounces and matzah 1 ounce for the Netilas Yadayim? No, for the Netilas Yadayim to make a bracha, you need 2 ounces. That's year round. By matzah, though, you're going to be having more matzah. You're going to be eating kairach, you're going to be eating Afikomen, you're going to be eating more matzah. I'm talking about, there's 2 aspects. To make a bracha on the Netilas Yadayim, you need 2 ounces. If you're eating 1 ounce of bread during the year, you wash, but you don't make on the Netilas Yadayim. The only time you make on the Netilas Yadayim when you're going to be eating 2 ounces. I'm talking about the mitzvah of eating matzah is 1 ounce. The bracha you're going to make Natil Sidan because you're going to be eating much more matzah. What's the significance of 4 minutes? Because it says like this: in order for eating to be eating, and this applies the whole year, by the way, when you want to make an after bracha on food, you have to eat a kazayas of food within a certain time. It's called kedei achilas pras. Okay, the amount of time it literally means to eat 3 eggs. What is that halachically? So in halacha, if you want to take the broad spectrum of it, it's from 2 minutes to 11 minutes. We paskin basically, especially by biblical things, 4 to 9 minutes. Because if you don't eat a kazayas of matzah within 4 minutes, you didn't do the mitzvah of eating an ounce. That's why he said you can't nibble matzah, you have to eat matzah. You can't sip wine, you have to drink wine. So you need 4 minutes to be able to be considered eating. Soft matzah acceptable, we said. Canon grape juice, light and Ray says it contains grape juice, and grape juice from concentrate as the second ingredient. Not all Canon grape juice say concentrate, and it's better to get one that doesn't have any concentrate. But if the whole thing is not concentrate, it's okay, even though it's better to have actually totally not from concentrate. Did the Rebbe dip Charoset into the wine that's spilled into the plate for Dam Sardeya? No. The Rebbe did not pour from the Becher into his plate. The Rebbe poured it on a bowl that was on the floor, broke, whatever. It wasn't from the Makis. Do not understand about the candle. What was that for? The custom is when you open the door for Leon Navi, you go with the candle. Every candle, carry a candle to the door from the candles that we lit for Yom Tov. Yeah, that's what you usually take. There are 2 plates of wine. One is broken plate, and you pour the plate. Okay. Do we omit Malava Malka? The whole Seder is Malava Malka. Is there a little plate that holds? Okay, no. Where is Chabad burning this year? I really don't know yet. Honestly, I don't know. Do we have 10 plates pouring the wine in broken bowls? Should we break the bowl before Shabbos? It says in Halacha clearly you don't break a bowl. If you have a broken bowl, that's what you put it into. But you don't go crazy with that. Is it mini Beis HaRav for everyone to say their own bracha even on Kiddush? In Beis HaRav, everybody made their own Kiddush. Even the women made their own Kiddush because the women in the Rebbe's Seder were in a different room. They did not hear the Rebbe's Kiddush. So they all made their own Kiddush anyway. But then, if a woman is making Kiddush by the Seder, she has to leave out Shechianu because she made it when she lit candles. If a woman is making Kiddush herself the night of the Seder, both the Darim, by the way, she has to leave out the bracha Shechianu because she made it when she ben shlicht. Why 2 ounces of matzah after carbon Pesach and the matzah eaten together with the carbon Pesach? When we nullify the Chametz Shabbos morning 11:50, do we need to be home or we can do it wherever you want? You can do it wherever you want. Please explain again about making Bedikat Chametz in the kitchen before you start cooking. If you're planning to start cooking, people, please use a little logic. Bedikat Chametz is to ascertain there's no chametz. Now, how can you cook in a kitchen without ascertaining there's no chametz? So if you want to cook Monday in your kitchen for Pesach already, I'm just giving that as an example date, then Sunday night at nightfall, you do Bedikat Chametz in the kitchen. No candle, no bracha. You can use a flashlight. You go around the kitchen like you would Bedikat Chametz in the rest of the house, and you do Bedikat Chametz in the kitchen. When you finish, and then you don't have to do it that night of Bedikat Chametz because you already did it. The Seder plates have to do template. Kids, some do, some don't. Can I brush my teeth on Shabbos after Challah before eating Pesach food? You're allowed to brush it with a dry toothbrush. Do we do Bedikat Chametz with no bracha before we begin preparing food in Pesach? Okay, if you want to do things tomorrow, you can do Bedikat Chametz tonight. Supposed to do Bedikat Chametz at night. How can I please get the Halacha newsletter? if you want to get the Halacha newsletter of Chabad of Beverly Hills or anything else from Chabad of Beverly Hills, you go to jewishbeverlyhills.com. That's the show website, jewishbeverlyhills.com, and you can get all the shiurim. You can get all the newsletters, the emails, and so on and so forth. What is the soonest day we can start cooking for Pesach? The day after Pesach last year, can start cooking for Pesach. We poured 10 drops of wine. How do we discard it? You throw it down the sink. What do I do with the bag that the pita bread was inside? You empty out the crumbs into the toilet and throw out the bag. On Friday, can we burn till midday or 11:57 like every year? The Alter Rebbe says you should do before midday. Some people write that it's better to do it by 11:57. Can Chabad use matzah covers, napkins preferred? It doesn't matter. Do we have to eat challah Shabbos morning and flush too? Yes, you're supposed to eat challah Shabbos morning. Is there no shalosh shudas Shabbos Erev Pesach? Well, you eat something in the afternoon. You can't wash because you're not allowed to eat matzah. You can't eat chametz, but you can have fruit, your yaitza, shalosh shudas, or any other foods. You're fulfilling the obligation of shalosh shudas. Where do we put the wine from the 10 plagues? I know the Persians have a minute what they do with it, but we're not going into that. You throw it down, you spill it down the sink. If somebody has braces, how do they deal with it? Ask HaRav. Same thing with retainers. You have to call HaRav and ask him. The Shabbos meal, can we use machine matzahs for our matzah? No, you cannot use machine matzahs because you're not allowed to eat Pesach like a matzah. Matzah is kosher for Pesach, Erev Pesach. It's halachically forbidden. So even though you're not going to eat it on Pesach, but if it's kosher le Pesach matzah, you cannot eat it Shabbos morning. Do we do a bit of, okay, wine down the sink, not down the toilet. You could put it down the sink, or you could put down the. No, it's better to put it down the sink. What do you do with leftover matzah? Put it away. I mean, is there no way kosher plate? I didn't say you can't. I said call HaRav. Can I throw out the pita bread bag in the chametz kitchen? Yes. Not in a Pesach garbage can, because there might be crumbs in it. You don't want to have it in a Pesach garbage can. Okay. If there's any other questions, you can ask him. If not, I wish everybody a kosher Hilchim Pesach. Monday night at 8 o'clock, we are having the Verbring with Rabbi Kesselman in honor of Yud Aleph Nissen from 8 till 9. Everybody should have a kosher Hilchim Pesach. Maybe should
Amen.
be in today with Mashiach and have the real carbon Pesach the way it's supposed to be.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
1 second. Don't forget to sell your chametz. Don't wait for the last minute. Don't forget to sell your chametz.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Take care.
You.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much, Rabbi Shusterman.